February 11th, and this is episode number 14 of the Grail. Welcome aboard, everybody. New listeners, old listeners, let's get into it today. It's more pinball on the Grail. I don't know about you, but I grew up playing pinball. Pinball was my babysitter. Mom would just drop me off at the arcade. I'd be in there all damn day. And with only about $5, I could play about 10 hours of pinball and go home with $2.50. You had to get good so your time at the arcade wasn't boring. There was nothing funnier than being out of money and doing the shameless walk through the pinball aisles, checking the coin slots for quarters, or looking up on the machine to see if somebody matched and didn't realize it, and there's a credit up there. This is all pinball lingo. Tilting, credits, bumpers, flippers, everything. And it is my guest, Gary Stern's life for many, many years now. Most of his life, he has been in pinball. His father was in pinball. He's in pinball. He's 75 years old. On it. Very, very cool. Loves what he does. That is the main thing I got out of this episode, and what I get out of all the episodes of The Grail is these people love what they do. And in the time of COVID, there's no better time than to reassess your life and realize, am I doing what I dig? And if you're not, take a chance and start over. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but you got to start somewhere, and starting over would probably be the best place to start. If not, I dig it. I dig it. You know, right on. Do what you do, man. Anyway, Gary Stern is the owner of Stern Pinball, the last big company that makes pinball machines. Of course, I had Spooky Pinball on before. They're a small boutique, very cool company. This is the other end. This is a big company that's responsible for some of the greatest games I've played in the last 10 years. And a lot of those games have to do with rock and roll. The Iron Maiden game, the Aerosmith machine, the AC/DC machine, the New Kiss machine, Beatles, Elvis, Rolling Stones, and now a machine that has absolutely knocked me out, the brand new Led Zeppelin game, which is something I didn't think would ever happen. And I cannot even tell you how much I love the Led Zeppelin 3 pinball machine. There's 3 versions, and the Led Zeppelin 3 is just unreal. Anyway, I'm going to talk to Gary Stern today, and then I'm going to talk to Tim Sexton, who helped design and develop the Led Zeppelin machine, and that will be on next week. So a little back-to-back pinball, which I think is fun. I love pinball, and I know a lot of people in this world love pinball because it's as hot as ever, especially people are buying them for their houses, getting into it. Video games are cool. They're fun, but there's something about pinball. It's got soul. It's like old architecture out in Palm Springs. You see it and you go, sure, there's a bunch of cool houses over there, but look at this. And that's pinball for me. This episode is brought to you by my good friend, Mark Brunot. You know, he's got a podcast now. He is king of the Del Raisers, and his podcast is called A Rock and Roll Rabbit Hole. He's got 6 episodes out right now. Episode 6 is just dropped. It's a deep rabbit hole dive on songs that have the word fuck in them. And you can subscribe and check it out on the Apple Podcast app or on your Spotify or a rockandrollrabbithole.com. All right. Mark Brunot's podcast is a weekly music podcast that takes a positive fanboys look deep dive into great songs, artists, and bits of songs that fall under random themes. Every episode is tied together with YouTube interviews, facts, and stories. Check it out. Don't forget rockandrollrabbithole.com and subscribe to it, and also subscribe to the Grail if you have not. I want to thank everybody that's been listening to this. We were in the top 10 last week. I say we now because it's you guys and myself. We are celebrating artists and handmade goods. I'm going to get into it. Gary Stern here, out there in Chicago, tearing it up, making 70 pinball machines a day right now during COVID. 70. That is so damn cool. And this guy is festive. 75. He's the type of guy you want to be at 75. Just alive, playing pinball, going to concerts when he could. You know, all of it. He built the Ted Nugent machine in the 70s. And when I found that out, my head exploded. Fantastic guest. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. Do not forget to join the Patreon also for bonus episodes of Let There Be Talk. That's patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. If you are looking for a handmade guitar, look no further than where everybody goes. I'm talking about the one and only Banker Guitars. You want to know who Banker Guitars is? Just look at your heroes out there right now. Marcus King, Scott Holiday, Charlie Starr from Blackberry Smoke, my good man Brent Hines from Mastodon. The list goes on and on. Everybody is getting a handmade guitar from my man Matt at Banker Guitars. Email him, tell him I sent you. Go to his website, bankerguitar.com, or hit up his Instagram and see this guy's insane work. He just threw up this crazy V today. Oh my God, it's killer. His Instagram is Mr. Banker Custom. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Here he is, Gary Stern of Stern Pinball. Introduce yourself, my man.
I'm Gary Stern, and I am the CEO, president, and bottle washer, and whatever else at Stern Pinball.
Yeah, Stern Pinball. This is what a great guest. I had Spooky Pinball on, a small boutique company, and
yeah, they're cool. They're cool. Yeah.
But I definitely knew that I had to talk to the grand poobah of pinball right now. I mean, you guys are the only big company left, right?
Well, we're the big company. Yeah, we're 80, according to the market survey, 85-90% of the market, and we're unique in that we have three market segments. This is a business spiel, so you'll probably bore people, but we have three market segments, and maybe four. But the three market segments, we have game operators, which means we have people in bar arcades playing games. They're the ultimate customer, the game player, but the operator is using it as a business. We have enthusiast collectors, and then the third that we have is what we call general homeowners or rec room buyers, somebody who just wants a game for their home. And right now with the pandemic, a lot of people need home entertainment. There's even though it's snowing outside where I am right now. Where are you, Dean?
I'm in Los Angeles. It's nice 70 out today.
Yeah, my daughter works in the film industry and my son-in-law, they're there. But you got a mess going on there. So it's very frightening. Having said that, because of that kind of mess, people need entertainment at home. And even though it's snowing here, it's a 1-year wait for an in-ground swimming pool, I'm told. So better to play pinball at home. So we're very busy. So the three segments, game operation on the street, enthusiast collector, and just general homeowner. And fourth segment, which we have in Led Zeppelin and in some games, is the title collector. Somebody who's really into Zeppelin and wants to buy it, was really into Beatles. I've got a Beatles Diamondback. I have in my office a Beatles Diamond because last year they were afraid, last December, year end, they were afraid it'd be 2019 that it'd get shipped. And no, don't ship that. That's the last note. Leave that. So I said, well, okay, put it in my office and nobody will make a mistake. And then they've left it here. I don't know. So any event, so we do have that fourth leg is the collector of the title itself. But what's so important, and we're talking about, we're the major company in the business, is that we're making games for collectors, for enthusiasts, for general homeowners. But the pro model is priced right for the game operator to have on the street. And if we don't have games on the street, and yeah, some people operate premiums, especially if the bar or bowling alley or what have you, if their customer base is enthusiasts, maybe they should buy the premium. But generally, for just casual players, the pro, and that's what I take home. I take home the pro of every game so I can try and learn it and be ready to pitch it, if you would. But if we don't have games on the street, if we don't have games on operation, then the guy who's 20 years old now, when he's 40 years old and wants a game for the home, he's going to buy an iPhone, an old iPhone, because it'll be old then, so that he can play games there. We need people playing our games, and then once they get into it, it's fun, and they have a great time. We're a ball and bat game. But if we don't have people operating games and putting them on the street, as we say, then 20 years from now, the guys collecting games will have a few games, and they'll be, don't touch it, it's an antique, don't play it, it's in the corner to look at. No, these games are to be played. That's what they're all about. So we make 3 new cornerstone games a year, a pro, a premium, and LE. We make a new one at the change of the year, end of December, beginning of January, so that we enter the European market and the bar market, and the refresh of people who need, who have just returned all their Christmas gifts and need to spend their money on something. That's on our games, please. In April, is the summer, the season for game operation and so forth. And in August, for September, we start building the third one, so that we have another game for the fall market, the Christmas market, the bar market is as people are stopping the outdoor activities and coming back inside. I own bars, so I remember that. That's another thing I did. But having said that, I'm giving you a lot more than you really probably wanted. But that's the business model. It's occasionally a studio game. We've got the home only game. We do some private label. We occasionally release the game as a vault. We stole that name from Disney because every 20 years out comes Cinderella and the funny little hats and all that. That's the model. That's what we're doing, and it's important that people have games out in the public, in the wild as we call it, in the public, and that the customers go and play not just in their homes but in the wild, so that these games keep being out there and go to a social thing. It's a social game. It's a ball and bat game, but it's social. Nobody plays baseball by themselves. You don't even want to play golf by yourself. I don't play golf at all, but that's just me.
Now, when I was young, to buy a pinball machine, there was 2 for sale, I remember, at Sears, and I think Bally made them.
Ah, yeah, they did. Yeah.
One was Fireball, and the other one was Evel Knievel.
Knievel.
Yeah, yep. and they were kind of a cheaper, small version. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. And if you remember, they pulled back all the Evel Knievels after Sears said, "Oh no, you guys got to take these back." He just beat the heck out of somebody with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
So boom, they all came back. Yeah. Same game, different artwork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see. So they just changed it to Firepower or something. Yeah. Fireball.
Well, they were making. I think it was the same game. I may be wrong, but I think it was a plastic molded play field. It was very interesting.
And it was a smaller machine.
Oh yeah, a smaller machine. Yeah. Now we make a home game, the Pin, 2 different art packages for Star Wars, and it's non-coin op. It has a full-size play field, and it has real pinball parts and drop target and the whole routine, but it's not coin op, and it's a little cheaper. Retails for $39.99 MSRP, so you get it for less.
Let's get into your history of pinball. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I've been, like I said,
Oh, I can answer that in one word. I'm old. I'm old. I had to move for a little bit. I'm 75.
75.
I'm 75. So that I say that yes, in June I'll be 76. That's a ways yet, but in June of 2030 I'll be 85. And I hope so, but I hope that I'm able to move well and everything.
How do you get into pinball?
In my case, I've been in it. I'm 75, so I've been in it for 73 years. My father, Sam Stern, he died before we started this company. He died in 84. We started this company in 86. But he was a game operator in Philadelphia in the 30s. And as many game operators, became a game distributor or reseller, so he could get the games cheaper and he could get them earlier than his competitors, and then he sold to his competitors and ultimately became a distributor. So in 1947, when he was a 35-year-old punk kid, and I can say that because I'm 75. Dad, you were only 35 at the time. So he came to Chicago to see his supplier, Harry Williams of the Williams Pinball Company.
Oh, yeah.
And kidding around, he sat behind Harry's desk. I can't do that here, but he put his feet up on the desk and kidding around said, why don't you sell me the company?
Yeah.
Harry says, let me think about that. He goes up in his airplane. Harry had a Bonanza, which was the one with a little detail, flew around Chicago for 3 hours, came down and sold my father half of Williams.
Wow.
So since I've been we're big believers in nepotism here. I'm second generation. Many of the people who are here have been with me since the start of this company or earlier. Shelley Sachs, who works with me, she's not here today, but she and I have been together, I guess, 40 years or so. She says she's the oldest woman, the woman that's been in my life the longest. Doug Score, in charge of our international sales. His father owned worldwide distributing here, and he ran it. Bill Craven's son, Ryan Cravens, works here in charge of our whole parts and accessories and merchandise business. Bill was a very good friend of mine. So there's a lot of people, around who've been around, and especially there's a lot. Listen, you look at anything else. You got actors' kids become actors or producers or directors. Shoemakers' kids are named Shoemaker because they made shoes. Doctors' kids and lawyers' kids became doctors and lawyers. Presidents' kids become presidents, like the Bushes and the Adams way back when. So you grow up around something and you learn it, and it becomes part of your life. And pinball is part of my life. Unlike, they teach you, and I have an undergraduate degree in business from a long time ago. It's changed a lot, but they teach you're supposed to be in love with business, not with your business. And I violate the rule. I'm in love with the pinball business, and I'm in love with the pinball machines.
Williams was a huge hitter back then.
Yeah, my father bought Harry out. He was the president of it in 1964. He sold it to a public company called Seaberg, and ultimately they changed its name to Williams. And Seaberg was a jukebox company. I owned Seaberg once. Everybody should own Seaberg once.
So you get in, and are you playing pinball like crazy, or was it just something that you got into because your family?
Family, yeah, but I did play, and so forth. Now I'm old and slow, and I live in an apartment in downtown Chicago, so I only have one game in the apartment. We have a gameplay room. I'm going to say room, a gameplay part of the factory here, but it's pretty much closed because of all the COVID protections that we're taking. But yeah, they'll turn them on for me. But we don't have them open for play like we used to. But I have these two old games in here, as I said. But I bring home the pro version of the next game to my apartment, so I get to play it a little, learn it a little. Business has become bigger and more involved, and I used to be even more involved in the games themselves. Now we've got experts with. Under George Gomez, who's the greatest, he's our head of product development. our chief creative officer. And so I take the latest game home and I learn it and so forth and get used to it. And as I'm writing about it, I have it right there. I can go refer to it in the middle of the night. But we have a job here, a little bit curtailed right now because of COVID, but we're still continuing. Where curtailed because a lot of the development people are working from home. The factory's running. There's typically 250 people in this building on any day.
Wow.
With lots of COVID protection. We've got dividers everywhere. We've spread things to temperatures taken. You go out to smoke a cigarette. I don't smoke anymore, but you go out, they take your temperature to come back in. There's only one doorway. Truck drivers come in. They got to have their temperature taken. We have dividers, as I said. We have cornered the market. You cannot buy a clear shower curtain in the Chicagoland area. We own every one of them, and they're hung between workstations. Okay? So everybody's wearing masks in the office. We do so many Zoom. Yeah, I'm in the office, but if I meet with somebody else, even in the office, I'm probably meeting with them on Zoom. So because we're very, very careful. We don't want anybody sick. We want to protect, our coworkers, and we want to keep making games for people. And if everyone gets sick, then what happens?
Yeah.
So any event, he bought into Williams then, and so a lot of us come to this business from being around it. And then once they're in it, our purchasing guy, the head purchasing guy, he started in the stockroom in Bally, and he's been with us for he came to us. We started in 87. He's probably ran our stockroom in 88, 89 and been here, all that time. His son works here.
What was there? There was Williams, there was Bally's, and there was, what was the third one?
Gottlieb and Chicago Coin. Chicago Coin was the smallest one of them.
Right.
Chicago Coin, I bought them out of a bank foreclosure once and had them for a while.
Wow. Yeah, and Gottlieb, I forgot about them.
Gottlieb was the king at one point. They were the king. They didn't make the crossover well from electromechanical to solid state. And they made a different kind of game. It was a little slower than the games are today. Than the games were in the 80s and 90s. They were a little slower.
Yeah.
So where the rest of us used a 8-bit microprocessor, they used a 4-bit microprocessor. What does that mean? I have no earthly idea. But I know this, the one, I guess one can eat more than the other because one's got 4 bits and the other's got 8 bits. I don't know. Your listeners know what I'm talking about. I don't.
So my thing that I think is amazing is the survival of pinball. Each time you think it's out, pinball was huge in the 70s, and then here comes Pong. And then here comes Space Invaders, Asteroids, and Foosball, which were all battling for quarters. So pinball was taking a little corner there for a minute, and then it bounces back again, and then it bounces back again and again and again. It always comes back and kills. And right now, it seems to be bigger than ever.
It is. I'm not going to say than ever because in 93, we were bigger overall, but there was no competition like we have now. There was no internet. There was no streaming, your TV shows. And it was only competing with other out-of-home entertainment. There was very little in-home. Now we're in home. Everyone's got, video consoles at home, much better than a lot of times in the video games in outside locations, unless they're really simulators. So, but we are growing and grown back, and we're up significantly over the last decade, both in the number of games and in the player base, the type of players. Again, we have those 3 player segments. The key to it is the games are fun. They're it's not brain surgery. There's deep rules for the great player, and they can strategize. Or for somebody like me, it's a ball and bat game. I'm going to go out there and, if I was playing baseball, it's got a bat. I need the ball and bat part of it, the flipper. I'm going to whack at the ball and so forth. I'm not great. And other people can be great ball players. the golfers. I'm not a golfer, but my brother is a retired doctor, so that was one of the courses in medical school, playing golf for Wednesday afternoons. So he plays golf. Well, it's a ball and bat game. You can be a great golfer, you can just enjoy yourself. Same, it's just a good game. And as Harry Williams said, the great game designer, the ball is wild. It's your equalizer, your randomizer. And which means sometimes I can play with Keith here, who's one of the great game designers, but one of the great competitors. And maybe I got a chance because that ball is random, and maybe I get that lucky ball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now you start the company in what, 86? How does this all happen? Your dad owns Williams, and then you decide to start your own, and what's going on there?
Well, Williams, he sold in 1964 to Seaberg, and I, after practicing law for a little while, I worked there for a time, and then went out and did some of my own game stuff. Had the Chicago coin, bought it out of a foreclosure, and then used it for a while. In 1986, I needed a job, and there weren't a lot of jobs for presidents of pinball companies. Yeah. So I had to start a pinball company. So we got Data East, which is a Japanese video company with a California office, to invest with us in Data East Pinball. That was in 86. In 94, we sold it from Data East to Sega, which was a 20% shareholder in Data East. So we sold it to their parent or their shareholder, and it became Sega Pinball.
Remember them, Sega Genesis and all that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Big company. And in 99, when they realized that pinball is a nice business, but it's not big enough for a $2-3 billion company to really pay attention to. So they sold it to me and my group. So we, but it's the same corporation. We just changed the name to protect the innocent. It was started out as Data East Pinball, owned by Data East. The shares were sold to Sega, and Sega changed its name to Sega Pinball. And the shares were sold to the Stern Group, and we changed its name to Stern Pinball. But it's the same corporation all the way along. So we date back to September of 1986. First game, Laser War here, was the spring show in New Orleans in 1987.
What is the first game you make under the Stern title?
My gosh.
I stumped you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You did. Did we switch Harley to Stern? I'm not sure. I don't remember. To tell you the truth, I got to write that down. I better know that fact for the future. One of your listeners will tell you that.
Yep. All right. Now here's my question.
Yeah.
When does the rock and roll pinball start, and what are the procedures of going through that? Do you go through the band management? How does this all start? Let's get into that.
Okay. Everyone's a little bit different.
I remember in the 70s, we had Ted Nugent and Kiss.
Yeah.
They're huge, and the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I built Ted Nugent. That one was unique. Yeah, that was the old Stern built Ted Nugent. That was ours. Yeah.
Wait, really?
And, yeah, that was Stern Electronics, not Stern Pinball. That was from 76 to 84. I had Stern Electronics, which was the leftovers of Chicago Coin.
You did Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
And who did Kiss?
Bally did Kiss, and we did Kiss here. In fact, we have one of the original, and the same artist, Kevin O'Connor, did the back glass on both. There's certain similarities in the design of them, and we have the one of the Bally ones here, which one of our folks is dying to get from us.
Oh yeah.
And we have and we made our own Kiss, of course.
You did Ted Nugent. Can you remember how that deal went down?
Oh yeah, I can very well. Bally, Tommy Neiman at Bally had just started licensing games, and so Epic Records and We Magazine, if you remember, it was a competitor to Playboy. Some of your people may not remember. Some of you. They were doing a Nugent, and they contacted Tommy and said, "We want to get a couple games made with this artwork." And Tommy says, "Well, Bally was the king at the time, and we can't do that," and so forth. So call Stern.
Yeah.
So Tommy refers him to me. I said, sure, we'll do it, but we've got to make a whole run of games. You need to give me the license overall. So the artwork on that game matched the magazine cover and the album cover.
Yeah, Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, so they were all the same cover.
Is Ted involved at all?
I met him. He came by. Of course, he was great in the factory. He came by. We did PR shots with all the factory workers were loving it because he rode in a cabinet down the assembly line and all that. And went to hear one of his concerts with a bunch of us, and Steve Kaufman was one of my best friends and was our head of sales. We had a basketball team for the company, and our personnel assistant director of personnel, our assistant head of personnel, was the relative of the plant manager, and he had played basketball at University of Illinois. So we'd get the team, and it would go to play basketball, and after the first quarter, he would pick up guys that could play, that were there at the Y, so that we'd win. And said our guys are out. But Kaufman, he gets his leg broken during one of these games. So he's got this cast on, and we're up listening to Nugent at the Aragon Ballroom here. And he said, we got to go. I said, why? The cast from the music was vibrating off his legs from Nugent's music. So out we go.
So that was your first rock and roll pinball machine then, Stern.
Well, it's not this Stern, it's the other Stern. But we made that game. I guess I've got to think back. I guess. But since those times we've made, God, what have we made? Elvis here. You're going to remember better than me. Aerosmith, Elvis,
Iron Maiden.
Funny thing is that my customer in Norway said to me when we were making Rolling Stones, which was a dream for me, that his older customers were into it, but his younger customers all wanted AC/DC, Kiss, Metallica, and Iron Maiden. Now, maybe we're out of titles because we made all of those.
Those are fantastic games.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, rock and roll, you want music to a game. You want multiple music in a game, even if it's a music game or rock and roll game or not. And you want so you want different music. You want to be able to select your music. You want to be able to be nice. Well, in Led Zeppelin, we play the song all the way through. Wow. Now, there's none of these little quips, and it keeps changing. We're going to play the song all the way through, but you got to have the music that's good to play to. I used to talk about I got to be able to dance to my pinball machine. I got to be able to move to it. Well, that was the biggest thing at the arcade was you were hearing rock and roll in the arcade while you were playing. So you're just in this world, man. And you got Judas Priest on and you're going, fuck yeah. And you're just in this killer world of pinball and rock. So 80s, I remember the 80s.
Yeah. So do I. Barely. But remember, I was in my 30s and 40s in the 80s. Oh my God. Yeah. Cause you're 70. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 75. I got a whole different vision on how old are you?
I'm 55.
I see you're a baby. My God, you got so much to see yet.
Yeah.
When I'm 85, then in 2030, you can come around and push my wheelchair for me as we go play pinball.
Now, do you have meetings? How does this happen? Once a year, do you sit around and the guys go, look, let's try to get AC/DC this year, and let's go through that
you're
process.
Asking, how do we get a title? How do we pick a title? How do we pick Avengers? How do we do this? There's a number of things that go on. Certainly, we're reading all the time. What in the press and or what have you. Well, not in the press anymore. Now you do it on a computer. What's popular, hip hop, whatever you want to call it. We go to except for this year, we go to the licensing show and to the toy fair where all your licensors are there. The movie companies, the licensors for bands, what have you. Jody Dankberg, who does our licensing work, he had his own amp company that he sold, and he worked for one of the guitar companies with artist relations, and so he knows a lot of people in the music side. We go to these various things, and everything, we got interest. So now we have 3 cornerstone games a year, remember, 3 main titles, plus maybe a studio game if somebody else brings us something. So we're going to have meetings every month or two, talk about titles where we have a part in the schedule. We happen to be booked, through 2023. I keep saying I'm not booking a title for when I'm 80. We got to leave something open. So, and you have product development, which is George Gomez, marketing and sales, John Biscaglia, Dave, my partner, me, Jody, and then some, the people working on the scheduling and what have you. And we talk about the titles. And one thing that's important is George has to see if we can, and sometimes the licensor will come in and pitch us. He has to see if there's people in the design group that are interested in this title and where they fit in the design plan. Because it's 14, 15 months to design a pinball machine. We're doing, 3 or 4 at a time. So if nobody's interested in it, the creative juices are, you can't tell somebody, make me, you can't tell Michelangelo, paint me a Picasso if he doesn't want to paint a Picasso. You're not going to get a Picasso.
Right, I get it. So if he comes in and if he comes in and says, "Hey, we want to do a Blue Oyster Cult game," the guy's like, I'm not really juiced on that, then you're not going to pursue it.
If nobody wants to do it, and then there's some things they're going to want to do. Well, you're out of your minds, so it goes both ways, and some things we just think are fun ideas.
When you're at these conventions, these licensing conventions, are there just like a group there that are like, we represent AC/DC, and you go,
yeah, but we also have direct contact. Like we did AC/DC with the Handwerker, Alvin is the manager, right. Direct to the manager. Sometimes you're dealing with the licensing company, sometimes with the band management. And again, Jody's the expert on that. And a lot of the stuff, I used to do all this at one point, but now, again, I'm 75. We got it, and we're big. It's not just that the business is bigger; it's more complex. It's very complex. The world's much more complex than it was when I did Nugent. That was easy, but the games are more complex. There's so many other different competitions. The technology is much greater.
The business is more complex because this is the only way bands make money now, by licensing out logos and all that, because people get the music free.
Yeah, that's true. The whole structure of music has changed.
Yeah. So the logo of a band is all they really got, especially right now with no touring. It's
they got the logo. They probably own some art, or they may own their own music. Maybe they may own their own performances. Maybe they may own some of their video. Maybe,
right. Right.
Depends what they kept ownership of over the years.
Right. Right.
And certainly there's no touring right now. So, record sales are what? And touring doesn't, exist. I don't know what the model is for streaming tours. Some pay for stream stuff. I don't know what the model is for that. And hopefully, this. Listen, I'm 75. I'm in what's called Group 1B for vaccination, and I want my vaccination. I haven't been on an airplane. I've had more stuff stuck up my nose and tested, because I have grandchildren, and I've got a grandbaby here and a 3-year-old out in your area in LA.
Yeah,
because my two kids out there. My daughter is a second AD, assistant director, and my son-in-law is the best boy lighting. Sometimes the lighting guy in general. So they're working out there, and of course that's pretty dicey right now in LA. So.
It really is, yeah. Let's get into how the Led Zeppelin one comes about, because what we're talking about here is Led Zeppelin is basically a crown jewel and one of the hardest bands to get licensed on anything.
Yeah, they don't license much.
They learned a lot from their manager, Peter Grant, coming up, that they're not going to get ripped off. They're not going to slut out their logo or anything. So how does this happen, and what is their involvement, if any?
I would say very tenacious is what you have to be. We originally before Jody was here, Mark Schoenberg worked with me. I can remember being at Toy Fair, maybe it was a licensing show, when it used to be at Javits in New York. And we met with somebody from the agent. And at that time, the problem was you got four people, four people, including the estate or the wife, Bonham's wife. Yeah. And so they have to agree on what you're doing. And all these things are, whenever you do a licensed title, you have personalities, whether it be actors or musicians or whatever, that have to agree with it all. So, this went through a couple different licensing groups over the years, and we started actually with one and got an agreement with to do it. They shifted over to Mark, one of the agent took over handling it, all stuff. Jody's works all this through, and but everything, when you do a licensed title, and music games certainly the same. You got to license the title and whatever they have. You're going to have to license some film, probably. Or if they don't own it, and if it's a TV or movie like Batman 66 or something, you're going to have to license the music, and you have both performance and publishing rights that are probably two different places.
Yeah.
So there's a lot involved in that. In the case of Led Zeppelin, we got 10 songs, and the agreement is we'll play them all the way through.
Wow.
And we do. Instead of, usually a music game, you pick your song. First of all, you can pick your own song, any of the 10 songs on this. And in a music game, good times, bad times, communication breakdown, whole lot of love, immigration song, Kashmir, Black Dog, Ramble On, rock and roll, trampled underfoot, the song remains the same.
Badass.
Yeah. So we got 10 songs in there, and we're going to play each of them all the way through. But because we're playing them all the way through, I'm not answering your question. I'm talking about the game. I'll come back to your question. Because we're playing them all the way through, and there's certain things you have to do for each song different. Well, we refresh that. We change, every time another chorus or verse starts, we're going to refresh the lights that you have to light, or the targets you got to do, and so forth. We're going to refresh it because we want to play the song, and they want us to play the song all the way through. Yeah, you can change it at the beginning of each ball. I remember that I was sitting in one of our old buildings in product. I used to be right in the middle of product development, and I'm listening, and I don't remember what game we were making, but the same song was playing all the time. Now, I owned bars. I owned in the early 70s, I owned what I call a hippie jazz and blues club, with some other people, and then part of a 1,000-seat nightclub. And I know that if I was bartending and I was playing the same song over and over, starting the same song each time, I'm going to take my shoe and throw it through the goddamn game. Pardon my French. Because, we need to, the ball is wild. The game's always a little different. You got skill, you can control it, but it's a randomizer. So in any event, back to what we do here, we have to, submit plans and so forth to the licensor, in this case to the agent that's handling it, who's submitting it to whichever the parties are going to approve it, who wants to see it. Sometimes everybody. In that case, they all vote periodically. So yeah, it's a process. It's hard. It's hard because you got to make everybody happy. When we did our first Batman, this is an old story. The first one had Michael Keaton as Batman, and he thought his jowls were on the play. We had to redraw him a bunch of times. I think it was Kim Basinger. We had to do her legs. Yeah. We had to do her legs 7 times. And we couldn't find Jack Nicholson. He was depressed in the south of France somewhere. So it was a bitch of a time to get his approval of his likeness, that type of thing. So, it's always something.
Now, when it comes to Zeppelin, so they one of their rules was they wanted the song to play all the way through. And what was,
as I understand it, that's the way it's told to me. That's what we do.
What was the decision on the artwork? Because you do the first record, and then you do the Swan Song label logo, and then you do this one. So what
you know the Icarus story, what it comes from, what the Icarus is about.
Right.
It's mythology, and the Icarus he made wings of feathers and wax.
Flew too close to the sun.
To the sun, melded, and went down, just like a lot of rock stars. That's where that comes from. Yeah, and the Zeppelin, is same type of thing.
The band was cool with 3 different artworks. Did they?
Well, yeah, we have to have 3 different artworks, one for a pro, a premium, and LE. Sometimes we do color waves, and sometimes we do, but we have 3 very distinct art packages on this game. And it was, again, if you're a Zeppelin fan, you know these.
Yeah.
You know these.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. My ex-wife's got to have one of each of the back glasses. She's a big, my kids know rock and roll much better than I do, and so is my ex-wife, because instead, in carpooling when they were little, she didn't quiz on state capitals. She quizzed on rock and roll. We had when the 39-year-old was like 15, we went to the Stones, and she bought for Aaron and Aaron's girlfriend, not up with us, but Stones tickets in the stadium, in Soldiers Field. She said, no, it's part of her rock and roll education.
Yeah. You can write that off.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get a tax deduction on those tickets for. I should have done that for tuition.
Let's talk about a machine that I don't understand hasn't been built, and I think it could be the greatest machine ever built, and that would be Jaws.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's a great title. Great title.
You stalled out there title. Like you're working on it.
One of the funny things is that we use code names for our games.
Yeah.
And we used Jaws for one, and it got out, and everybody thought we were making Jaws. We called it Jaws. It wasn't. It wasn't Jaws. I think it wasn't Avengers. It was. I think we called Jurassic Park's code name was Jaws.
What? So are you making Jaws?
We never talk about our future games. We talk about what we have today for the marketplace.
Yeah.
But it's certainly an interesting title. Buy an old Nippet. Buy an old Nippet and change the alligator to a shark. Huh?
Oh my God, dude! Jaws is.
No, I didn't say we're doing that. I say we're doing that.
I know. I know, but
no, but it's it's an interesting title. The problem is we have 3 silver bullets a year and 3 cornerstones, and so right, Led Zeppelin. That's not hard to figure out. To do Led Zeppelin, there's so much material out there, and especially today, where you've got music, you've got movies, but you've got television, includes cable and so forth.
Right.
And the one thing that you haven't seen, hasn't worked in the past very much, and that's video games converted to pinball. We haven't seen much of. I think there was, Street Fighter was done years and years. Street Fighter was.
There was that crazy crossover one. Remember that one? It was Star Wars, where it was, Space Invaders, where it was a mini pinball and the game.
Space Invaders they did as a center shooter game. Bally and Williams sued each other. It was Space Invaders and Rapid Fire.
It was crazy.
A center shooter game, and Space Invaders, things came down.
Right.
And there was a big lawsuit between the 2 of them over it.
Wow.
Yeah, basically one copied the other, but it was totally different artwork, and it's only so much you can protect. Time is of the essence. Do it fast.
I got to tell you, man, I absolutely love this Led Zeppelin 3, and if it wasn't a COVID year and I hadn't, I'm a comedian, haven't been on stage in 8 months, it would be in my house. And I kept thinking, should I buy this and not eat for a few months? But
that'd be my suggestion.
Oh yeah.
Having said that, this is going to end, and we're not.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you don't buy it now, you can buy it on the secondary market. But we will make it. We make games from the beginning, from the outset.
Yeah.
We were making games and remaking games in the summer or what have you when the commercial market was weaker. And we really don't give up. We really like to, a lot of work goes into these and so forth. And it's different. People used to, when it was just a commercial business and it was a brisk commercial business, the game operators who bought games would buy them all at once. Now they want to wait. Maybe they buy a little later, so forth. And the same's true with the home side. So although we come out with a new game every 4 months, 3 times a year, and we come out with 3 versions, and we have a big surge of sales of that game, they have a long tail. And to tell you right now, we have right now, over the next number of year or whatever, we have Batman, Star Wars, Pro and Premium, maybe Guardians, some more Iron Maiden Pro and Premium, Deadpool Pro and Premium. We're out of Beatles except this one back here right now. Maybe we'll make more of those. Probably. I don't know about Monsters, Black Knight. We have the Pin, Star Wars Pin, 2 different versions, Jurassic Park Pro and Premium. We'll make more Elvira. We don't have any. It's not. We have virtually no inventory. We're building 70 games a day. Well, not this week. We stop for inventory. Next week we'll be building 70 games a day, and we're filling. Our business is brisk right now.
70 a day. Wow.
Yeah. So after Iron Maiden, we're still building Turtles Pro Premium, Avengers Pro and Premium, Zeppelin Pro and Premium. And then we're going to have another game in April, May.
Oh, Jaws. Yeah.
I can tell you that it is not Jaws. It is a big title, but it's not Jaws.
Wow. Well, man. Well, the next title I think that's going to be hot is Mandalorian. People love this show, man. And
don't they, though? They do love it. I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
We've done Star Wars titles. Data East Sega did 2 Star Wars games. We've done Star Wars, here. We did 2 different artwork packages on it, the movie and the comic book. We've used that title for our home only version, the Pin. Great playing game. Wow. George did a fantastic job with that. And that's like a perennial title. They got to do something with Stars sometime. But we just did it recently, and we're just doing it again with the Pin. So.
Well, it's great to talk to you, and congrats on the Led Zeppelin. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. It beats working. Yeah.
And I really like what you guys are doing, man. It's just, it's really, really epic to have a pinball company around in 2021. I've been playing pinball my whole life, and I'm glad. Yeah. And this Zeppelin, the Maiden, the AC/DC, the Metallica, these are some of the greatest titles that have come out in the last 10 years. Yeah, especially that Metallica, man. That game is probably the best playing game I played in 15 years.
I'm with you. With you.
Unreal.
But right now I have to play Zeppelin in my apartment, but it's going to leave soon for whatever that next game is.
Oh, God. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me.
Have a great weekend, huh?
You too. Yeah.
See ya.
So long.
Later.